Biden was off-putting and arrogant and a jackass and loud and meandering and buying time every time he talked, trying to run out the clock. And Bernie was very direct, and Bernie took over the debate multiple times, turning to Biden, asking him questions. For some reason, a lot of people didn't give him credit for it. I gave him credit for it because it deserves credit. He had to be moderator and debater, and he did that numerous times. He got Biden to admit basically he's a lying scumbag in front of the whole world. Will it matter? I don't know yet. We'll find out. But one thing I'm sure of. One thing I'm sure of is this. I'm sure that it doesn't matter as much as it should matter. Whatever the amount of mattering that it'll be, it won't be enough for what we saw, because what we saw is not about just the policy. They don't care about the person with the better intent for the world. And that's a problem.
Could have forest, they're no longer forest, but they could have farming, and say, this is what we're going to do. They absorb more carbon in the Amazon and the region that's burning now than we emit in one entire year per year.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Senator Sanders?
All well and good, but nowhere near enough. I mean, you mentioned we started this debate talking about a warlike situation in terms of the coronavirus. And we said we have to act accordingly. You said it. I think you're right. I said it. We have to act dramatically, boldly, if we're going to save lives in this country and around the world. I look at climate change in exactly the same way. It's not a question of re-entering the Paris Accord. That's fine. Who cares? Not a big deal. The deal right now is, do we have the courage? And this gets back to the point I'm trying to make all night long. Do we take on the healthcare industry and tell them their profits are not more important than healthcare for all? Do we take on the fossil fuel industry? Look, in terms of the fossil fuel industry, these guys have been lying. They've been lying for years, like the tobacco industry lied 50 years ago. Oh, we don't know if fossil fuels, if oil and carbon emissions are causing climate change. They knew. ExxonMobil knew. They lied. In fact, I think they should be held criminally accountable. But this, Jake, is an issue of enormous consequence. What Joe was saying goes nowhere near enough. It's not a question of money. Give me a minute here. We have time to talk about this. This is a world-shaking event.
I understand. I just want to give him a chance to respond,
Okay,
and then we can come
fine.
back
Let's
to you.
stay on.
We're staying on this issue.
Number one, no more subsidies for fossil fuel industry. No more drilling on federal lands. No more drilling, including offshore. No ability for the oil industry to continue to drill, period. Ends, number one. Number two, we're in a situation as well where we cannot, we are able to move rapidly to change the dynamic in terms of what we can do to set in motion. The fact that he says climate change, Paris Accord doesn't mean much. We could get everything exactly right. We're 15% of the problem. 85% of the problem is over there. We need someone who can deal internationally. We need someone who can bring the world together again. We need someone who can move in a direction that, in fact, if you violate the commitment you make, you will pay an economic price for it, like what's happening in China. They're exporting coal, significant coal.
Thank you.
Look, obviously, the Paris Accord is useful, but it doesn't go anywhere. If you laugh at Joe, then you're missing the point. This is an existential crisis.
Bingo.
You talk about, I'm talking about stopping fracking as soon as we possibly can. I'm talking about telling the fossil fuel industry that they are going to stop destroying this planet. No ifs, buts, and maybes about it. I'm talking about speaking to China. Well, I'm not sure your proposal does that. I'm talking about speaking to China, to Russia, to countries all over the world. And in this moment, making the point that instead of spending $1.8 trillion on weapons of destruction designed to kill each other, maybe we should pool our resources and fight our common enemy, which is climate change. I know your heart is in the right place, but this requires dramatic, bold action. We've got to take on the fossil fuel industry. Your plan does not do that.
Bernie actually cares about these issues that we talk about, or these issues that impact life, that impact not just your life, but but issues that will impact your grandparents and your grandchildren's lives. And it's a shame that we have people that don't understand that or don't respect that. You know, because we don't believe in anything, do we? We don't believe that anything is as bad as it is. That's the problem. We are cynical as hell. Aren't we? The people right now don't believe the coronavirus is a problem. No virus is a problem. 10,000 people died from N1H1. I guess it's not a problem unless that was somebody that you loved. Then it's a problem. People don't think we need to legalize drugs. That we need to set up treatment centers everywhere because they don't realize how many people are ODing every day. Nothing is as bad as they think it is. Or in their minds, nothing is as bad as it really is. In their minds, everything is a hoax. Everything is just talk. Nothing's as bad as it is. Most people in jail haven't been charged with a crime yet. Or they've been charged, they haven't been tried for a crime. They haven't been convicted of anything. They're there because they can't make bail. And then from there, from stupid things like driving on a expired license, having too many tickets, couldn't pay child support. They're there for all types of reasons, a myriad of reasons. We lock up more people than any other country. But it's never as bad to the people watching. No one ever thinks it's as bad as it is. It is bad as it is. Bernie Sanders is telling you that climate change is really bad. And you're going, it's not that bad. It's not that bad until you walk outside and you just turn into a fireball. Or until your cousin, your grandmother calls you and says, we're dying, the water is in the house. We've been flooded out. We're dying. And they give you their last words are, we should have did some. That's when it'll be, oh God, climate change. Yeah, dumbass, climate change. Bernie's the only one on that stage that gave a damn. Joe is status quo. He don't care. Him good. His money's right. His son, perfect, fine. Everybody in the Biden clan doing well. I'm going to be fine. I'm going to be great. I'm going to be okay. What about you? Take care of you. I'm good. Status quo politics of Democratic candidates is what I've been seeing. And meanwhile, we got Bernie Sanders, the only candidate that gives a damn enough to go to war to fight for it. And all I heard people talk about was how presidential Biden looked because he's a little taller, stood a little taller, had on a better tie. Not listening to a word he said that the guy, the Paris Climate Accord, he's not willing to take on the reasons that create climate change. And if you're not willing to take on those entities, what good are you? He's really not willing to take on the fossil fuel industry. If he won't do that, we won't stop climate change. It's a wrap. Joining an organization to try to get together and have meetings won't change that fact that we need to deal with our fossil fuel industry right here, that we need renewable energy, that we need to worry about solar, wind, all of these, not just rely on what we pull out the ground, and just banning offshore drilling ain't enough, Joe. But Joe knows that. Joe just doesn't care enough. So not only do we have to deal with the fact that we're all in our own little silos and we're dealing with our own trauma, women and black folks and Latino folks and gay folks and trans folks, we're dealing with all our being underrepresented or misrepresented or not represented at all, or being presented for auction, or whatever your lineage tells you, whatever you come from being poor and broke or just cut out of the dream or whatever it is. Not only do we have that, we're saddled with, we don't believe things are as bad as they are because they're not happening to us at this very moment. But the problem you don't get is it's happening to somebody else at this moment. It's just not you. And Bernie's the only candidate that sees it that way. The fact that it's even close, folks, is an indictment of our humanity. Yeah, it is, man. It's an indictment of our humanity that this is even a close race. The fact that it just goes to show, sort of like with the coronavirus, that there are people who just won't believe anything. That Wall Street didn't believe it was as bad as it was until the day finally Trump said it was bad. They're like, oh no! And now we have the lowest numbers ever recorded in the history of recording. Because they finally accepted it's as bad as it is. And maybe one day you'll wake up, Biden voter, moderate, Democrat, corporate-crat, Republican-light, closed-minded liberal, comfortable liberal. You too, moderately comfortable liberal that Martin Luther King talked about. You wake up and realize, hey, it was as bad. Because it'll be your ass. It'll be you, Elizabeth Warren supporter, who didn't really care about the plans. Because you're good, you're fine, you don't have to worry about anything. We just want to see a woman in that seat. So as we look back over the debates and we hear people talk about them, and the coronavirus is taking precedent, and I get it, I understand it. Makes sense, it's life or death for some of us. You can have it and not know it and go see your grandparents or go see somebody with a pre-existing condition whose immune system, for whatever reason, is compromised, and you give them a disease that takes their life. This is serious shit. It's always serious. But as I look at that debate, re-look at it, rewatch it, read some of the comments about it, read a couple articles about it, it turns my stomach. It disgusts me. There's only one person that was on that stage who gave a damn about your future, really. Who talked specifically about what we needed to do to make this country more humane country. Richest country in the world, and for some reason we're so cynical. We don't even care enough that 500,000 people go bankrupt every year. Just because they got sick. Not because they wanted to. Not because they all went to Vegas and blew it all. We believe the worst about each other. Just to make sense of why we don't have. And that's the root of all of it. So anyway, guys, what are we going to do? Well, we're going to keep going. I'm going to keep going. I hope you keep going with me. I got your back. I hope you have my back. And hopefully we'll wake up. I'll have coverage of tomorrow's votes. Whatever happens, this is a movement. This is a call to arms for all people who see what we're dealing, see what's ahead of us. And it's unfortunate that a lot of our older folks just don't get it. A lot of our folks living in red states just don't get it. A lot of our folks down south just do not get it. There are those who are doing well, and they mean you no good. Well, maybe they mean you good in a way, but just not as good as them, you know? And unfortunately, that could be the difference between life and death.